Good morning, students. Today we will be starting with a new topic, that is kinetics of particles 1. Just a quick revision on what do you mean by this word kinetics. So we have already seen in the previous topic that kinetics means the study of bodies under motion considering the effect of forces acting on the body. So when we consider the forces acting on the body and then find its velocity, acceleration, displacement, time, etc., then it is known as kinetics. Regarding particles, we have seen that if the dimensions of the body are not considered during the calculation, then it is considered to be as a particle. The concept which will be used in this topic will be Newton's second law and D'Alembert's principle. Hence, this topic is also known as Newton's second law or D'Alembert's principle. Normally, we don't say it as kinetics of particle 1. It is popularly known as either Newton's second law or D'Alembert's principle because the concepts which we'll be using will be one of these. Now, let us first understand the term Newton's second law. So, we have the rate of change of linear momentum is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction of the force. The words which I have underlined are the important words for the defining Newton's second law. So again I will repeat, the rate of change of the linear momentum is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction of the force. Now let us convert this statement into a mathematical form. Okay. So we have rate of change. So rate of change we denote is as d by dt. Okay. So rate of change of linear momentum. So rate of change of linear momentum means mass multiplied by velocity is directly proportional to the applied force and take place in the direction of the force. So what I have done, I have just converted the statement into the mathematical form. Now solving it further, as we all know that mass is a constant, so I will take it out of derivative. So it will be mass into d by dt of velocity is directly proportional to force. Solving it further, I will get mass multiplied by derivative of velocity with respect to time is nothing but acceleration. Change of rate of change of velocity with respect to time is acceleration is proportional to f. Now removing this proportionality sign, I will get m into a is equal to k multiplied by f, where k is the constant of proportionality. Now my next step will be to find out the value of this constant k, for which let us go back to the definition of a Newton. So by definition of 1 Newton force, it is said that it is the force required, to produce unit acceleration on unit mass. So substituting 1 in place of force, 1 in place of acceleration and 1 in place of mass, I will get 1 multiplied by 1 is equal to k multiplied by 1. So solving it, I will get answer of k is equal to 1, and finally I will get m multiplied by a is equal to f, because k is equal to 1. So this is nothing but the expression for Newton's second law, which says that force is equal to mass multiplied by acceleration. Now this expression which we have derived now is for a single force which is acting on the body. Now let us consider that there are number of forces acting on the body. So I will just modify this equation as m multiplied by a is equal to summation of forces acting on the body. So summation of all forces acting on the body is nothing but mass multiplied by acceleration. So this is nothing but your Newton's second law, and as written here, summation of F is equal to ma. This is nothing but your Newton's second law. Okay. Let us now understand the term D'Alembert's principle, for which consider a car of say mass m and moving in this particular direction with an acceleration a. Now, if I put an imaginary force or inertia force of m into a in the direction opposite to the acceleration. Okay, I repeat again. Let us consider a car of mass m moving in this particular direction with an acceleration a. Now, if I apply an imaginary force on an inertia force of mass into acceleration of this body in the direction opposite to the motion of the body or opposite to the direction of acceleration of the body, then this particular particle will be said to be in dynamic equilibrium. Okay, again I repeat, if a body is moving with acceleration a, and on that body if we apply an imaginary force of m into a in the direction opposite to the motion of the body, then the system or this body will be said to be in dynamic equilibrium. So as now it is in equilibrium, I can write summation of all forces minus ma should be equal to 0. Why this minus ma? Because it is in the direction opposite to the motion of the body. Now this particular equation, summation of f minus ma is equal to 0 is depicting the dynamic equilibrium of the body. And this equation was put forward by D'Alembert, which again says that if an imaginary force ma is added in the opposite direction to the motion of the body, results in the dynamic equilibrium of the body. As this equation summation of f minus ma is equal to 0, which talks about the dynamic equilibrium of the body, was given by D'Alembert's, hence this entire equation or the concept is known as D'Alembert's principle, wherein we can write summation of f minus ma is equal to 0. You must be remembering that in previous slide we have seen for a Newton's second law as summation of f is equal to ma. If I rearrange this term, I will get summation of f minus ma is equal to 0. So if you observe these two equations, both are one and the same. Hence, I can say that mathematically, both D'Alembert's principle and Newton's second law are same, but conceptually they are different. Newton's second law does not talk about the dynamic equilibrium of the body, whereas D'Alembert's principle talks about the dynamic equilibrium of the body, given by the equation summation of f minus ma is equal to 0, and it is said that when an imaginary force of ma is applied in the direction opposite to the motion of the body, then the body comes in dynamic equilibrium. So this was all about D'Alembert's principle. So after understanding the terms Newton's second law and D'Alembert's principle, let us now proceed further to see the steps on how to solve the problems on this particular time. So we have steps to solve problems. The first step in any problem will be to draw a free body diagram of each particle separately showing all the forces acting on the body. The next step will be decide or assume the direction of acceleration. Now why this is required? Because we have to show the inertia force or imaginary force in the direction opposite to the direction of acceleration. So first we need to fix or assume the direction of acceleration. Then only we can find out the direction of imaginary force. The third step is apply D'Alembert's force. That means that imaginary force of ma in the direction opposite to the acceleration. Then next will be apply conditions of equilibrium, which are summation of fx should be 0, summation of fy should be 0. Then next is use equations of motions to find displacement, time or velocity. And what are the equations of motion? You already know. The first equation is S is equal to ut plus half at square. The other equation is v square is equal to u square plus 2as, and third one is v is equal to u plus at. It is not necessary that all these three will be used. Depending on what is given in the question and what is asked in the question, we will use combination of these formulas or equations of motions. Now let us consider one example and see how this particular steps will be applied. Now, to understand how to apply all these steps in a problem, let us consider an example wherein I have taken a car which is moving on a road. Let us go step by step. The first step says draw free body diagram of each particle separately showing all the forces. So now here you can see there is only one particle, which is a car. So there I have to draw a free body diagram of only one particle. I will consider here a car, let us say of mass m, moving on the road. Then it is mentioned that we need to show all the forces. Now, what are these all forces? Let us go one by one. The first force which we need to consider on a free body diagram or while making the free body diagram is the applied force. The force which is directly applied on the body. The second thing which we need to consider, or the second force which we need to consider, will be its self-weight. The third force which we need to consider will be the normal reactions. Normal reactions, or you can say the reactions from the contact surfaces. And the last one we need to consider as the friction force. The force which occurs due to friction on the surface. So these are the four forces which we need to show on a free body diagram. So let us show one by one. Now in this diagram or in this particle car of mass m, there is no applied force shown, hence this will not come in the free body diagram. Second is self-weight. We know that self-weight always acts in the downward direction, and the value is m multiplied by 9.81 because force is always in Newton, or self-weight is always in Newton. So we have shown this. The third is reactions, reaction from contact surfaces. So here you can see that this particular car is in contact with the road at this particular point. So there will be contact surface, and because of the contact surface there will be contact reaction. Let us say it is N, and it will be always from the surface towards the body. So this also we have considered. The last one is the friction force, and we all know that friction force acts in the direction opposite to the direction of the motion. So for that, let me assume that the car moves in forward direction. So because the car is moving in forward direction, the frictional force will be acting towards backward direction with the value of mu multiplied by n, where mu is the coefficient of friction of this particular surface. So I will show here that force, that will be mu multiplied by n. So this also I have considered. So by drawing this, I have completed my step 1, wherein I have shown all the forces acting on the body. Now, second step is decide or assume the direction of the acceleration. So, as we have said that this car is moving towards right side, so my direction of acceleration will be also towards right side. Okay, so I will show here direction of motion is towards right side, or direction of acceleration is towards right side. Third step. Third step is apply D'Alembert's force in opposite direction of acceleration. So what we need to do? We need to make one force, that is D'Alembert force, also known as inertia force, with a value m multiplied by a in the direction opposite to the direction of acceleration. Okay, so I have shown that also. Next condition. Next step, apply conditions of equilibrium. So conditions of equilibrium are summation of fx should be 0 and summation of fy should be 0. And last one is use equation of motion to find time, displacement or velocity, which we will use as per the requirement. So hope you all have understood about what exactly we are going to do in this particular chapter or this particular topic, and what this topic is all about, that is the concept of Newton's second law and D'Alembert's principle. From the next class onwards, we'll start solving the numericals. Thank you.